Ha 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 ha. I think we're live. Forrestine. No idea if you can. But if you can, great. Cool. Welcome to this week's What the Heck. I guess it's like this month's What the Heck. Let's be real.
Right? What the heck indeed.
What? Well, you know, things happen on weekends sometimes that are unavoidable. And sometimes you cancel What the Hecks because you think something's going to happen. And then that event gets canceled at the last minute and you have to do it the next weekend. And that's sort of how my month went.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have Bartok, our technology specialist, who definitely loves computers today. And I'm going to have to here, let me just hold my phone so I can see, so I can actually read stuff. Cool. I'm glad you can hear us. I'm glad we're online, even though it's the one What the Heck this month. We are having one on Sunday as well, but it's technically next month, and it's more of it's less What the Heck and more of hanging out and watching some ARPs for April. So really looking forward to that.
So what is April?
Yeah, let's talk about Modular. Hold on. I feel like Modular. Anyway, Modular is pretty fun. It's the usual monthly challenge, and by usual I mean we've never done this on Earth Modular Society. Other societies have done something similar, but I think it's becoming less frequent as people start having in-person events. So we thought we'd have some fun with it, and I think we're going to be a little more chaotic about it. Like this month was easy because it's April. It's arpeggios in April. It's fun to say. It reminds me of Culp and all the other misspelled words.
Right.
Yeah. So this month, anyone that wants to participate basically just streams on EMS, tags Modular in the Modular channel. And we sort of collect a playlist, and then it's my job to sort of go through and listen to them all. And by my job, I mean we're all going to do it on Sunday together, which will be cool. Like, there's been a lot of cool streams. Some folks have streamed multiple times. I'm not sure how to handle that. I think I'm going to take a look at the overall playlist and try to keep it to around 3 to 5 minutes per highlight.
I'll tell you, I did too, and I'll tell you to skip the first one I did. So
yeah, that's sort of what I'm hoping. I feel like a lot of folks are going to show up, or I hope they will. And if they show up and they've streamed anything, just tell me where to go or what to skip. If it's embarrassing, I'll go to the next thing. It shouldn't be embarrassing. All of the stuff I heard was pretty good. But if you have a favorite spot, let me know, and we'll just do that. I'm really looking forward to next month's theme. I've got a preview of the 4 or 5 topics we're going to vote on. I'll post that probably right after this, or maybe I'll read them off during this. I was sort of giving folks time to add to the list, but they're going to be good for May. Yeah, so I think that's most of the time-specific housekeeping news. I don't know. We don't have any stream trains coming up, but there is. You can sort of feel stream train energy in the air building around a couple of places.
Yeah, because Brood or Drone Day, not the Brood, the Drone Day is coming around again this year.
Yep.
So there's been talks. Forstein's been talking about getting something going for that. So, be on the lookout for any news on that. And I've seen some other channels talking about maybe doing some takeovers. So I think you're right. There's definitely talk in the air about doing some stream trains. But exciting. I mean, ARPRO, we got 23 videos are on the playlist.
So 20, that'll be a good session. And Forstein just mentioned in chat that the drone stream train will be on the 28th. So there will be a sign up for that, and we'll get going, and it'll be perfect. You can sort of drone there, and I think there was another drone day happening as well. They sort of coincide, so you can sort of get 2 birds with 1 drone. Maybe more. I saw a couple of local groups are starting to get organized on stream trains, which is cool because they're sort of a big event on their own. It's cool. Hey Device X, it's been a minute since we did this thing. I have a lot of stuff I'd like to talk about. First of all, I need more patch cables, but I have it's the least of my problems right now. I have to get an hour-long stream together for fun and to profit. So that's what I'm working on now is the start of that. I think we're both in that boat.
Yeah, we are. Do you want to talk about that a bit, or is it still too early to?
We can't. I don't have a lot I want to share on that. I can share a little bit of the tracks and stuff. I think I am going to resuscitate a session that I did for the Magpie Pirate Fest. I think it's 2 or 3 years now ago. I can't even remember, but Magpie Fest 3, whenever that happened. I did a good set, and I'm actually pulling some riffs and stuff from that. Not like a 1-to-1, but I'm excited to sort of bring back that pirate track. It's going to be fun. I'm starting to incorporate Tiny Cosmo over there now that it's got some voices beyond drums, which is good. And then I've got the hay pack, so it's a big learning curve for me going from the pyramid to the hay packs. I mean, most of the sequencing is pretty much the same because it's the same company, but when it comes to pattern switching, which I sort of like to do on the fly, and when I say pattern switching, or not even pattern switching, sequence switching. So a sequence is like a collection of patterns, and I have a bunch of things normally on the pyramid that I can switch between them, and the lead will change at the same time as the drums, at the same time as the bass, to completely different things. And that's a little bit different on the hay pack, so I'm still getting used to that sort of feel. Yeah. I will love it, but one of the things I love the most about the hay packs is I can load 2 projects and switch from one to the other seamlessly. So I think it'll make going for an hour a little bit easier on me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Those are the challenges a little bit. What about
And
yourself?
well, I'm also trying to come up with a 1 hour stream, um, and I'm 5 minutes in, maybe 10 minutes, so I'm getting there. But I think one of the challenges when you're talking about this is definitely a sequencer, and having
Yeah.
a sequencer that has the ability to change a song, if you will, and that could be a sequence of if your sequencer has 4 CV, 4 gate, then it's changing all of them together at the same time,
Right.
um, and having the ability to do that is critical to at least for me to be able to do something more than 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, etc.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun challenge because there's some limitations in that, but I think there's also like once you figure out how to sort of do that quickly, it makes regular sessions a lot more fun because you can do things like sort of mentally s- bookmark a spot in your session and be like, okay, I know how to get here again. Like, completely diverge for a good 20 minutes. And then I can loop back to like
Loop
flip
back,
those
yeah.
switches and sort of do a callback to an earlier melody or riff, which is always, I think, pretty fun. Um, so yeah, and to give more context, we're like creating these hour sessions to apply to play at a place. And if they reject all of us, that's cool. If they accept one of us, also cool. But if they reject all of us, we're just going to go anyway and play really loudly in the hallway.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so in technology hates me news, my MS-10 right here, behaving perfectly right this second, but it's been a little bit on the fritz since I played in person with it. So I'm going to take it to a synth doctor, which I feel sort of ashamed about, but like, uh, there's only so much time I have to debug things, and I have literally spent like, hours and hours on it. So it's time to just call in a professional who fixes
Yeah,
these things all the time.
and there's no shame in that. I mean, it's good to know where our limitations are, and if there's somebody that's a professional that can troubleshoot it.
Yeah, and I mean it's more than just like a a potentiometer that doesn't work, or I would fix it. I've done that. It's
Yeah.
more like every once in a while, can't replicate it, but the LFO pretty much fails, and when it fails, not only does the light stop flashing, which is a minor bummer, but the pitch sort of dive bombs a little bit. Like I think on one of my previous more recent streams, it sort of dive bombed. You could hear me as like fiddling with the tuning, and I couldn't
Uh-huh.
quite figure out what it was, and that was when the LFO died during that track, and it's really fiddly. So I don't know, but it made me come to the realization that one, I really love this instrument and I want it to work well, and two, I want a version of it that I can bring with me. So
Yeah.
um, in uh, I just got in today the MS-10 filter, which I didn't know anybody made. Like I searched for it on my own and could not find it, and I think somebody mentioned it on like a Freak Boutique, and it's called the MA35 Manhattan Analog, I believe is the company, and Jason there is awesome. So I contacted them. They make silver, like aluminum panels, but they make this filter that I watched a few demos, and like, well, none of the demos were quite what I was looking for because they were all a little bit mild with the resonance. Let's say they
Mm.
weren't really
They were,
putting it through
they,
its paces,
right.
right? Because it's a wild filter. It had enough there that I was like, ooh, that's the sound. And talked to him. He custom made a black panel. It's in there, and I was just doing a test earlier. I was just about to do like a filter comparison type stream out of boredom, but it sounds almost identical to my MS-10, which is freaking lovely, because that means I have something that I am not afraid to beat up,
Right.
that I can bring with me places. So I'm super stoked about that one single piece of kit, because I've been looking for filters that I like for a minute, without success.
Yeah. And I think that's great that they made a black panel for you. Um, I found that with a couple of manufacturers that sometimes, you reach out to them and, they can always say no, but I've made some requests and they're like, you know what, let me get back to you. And sometimes it comes through and sometimes it doesn't. So,
Yeah, Manhattan Analog. I can't believe, I'm super impressed. The thing was immaculately built. Like, I looked at the entire bit head to toe on the module, because now I'm a little paranoid. One of my other MS-20 module that I ordered lit on fire briefly after plugging it in, so now I'm paranoid. But this one was perfect. I when I contacted him, I was like, "Hey, this is weird. I don't like." Like, I know they design panels for a reason the way they do, so I don't feel comfortable like sort of asking for a black panel. And he was like, "Sure, no problem. I mean, here's about what it would cost." Like, whipped up an estimate within like 5 minutes. And then that estimate, what I didn't realize was that estimate was for like if I ordered just the panel, and I was ordering the module on the panel. He's like, "Well, if you don't need the silver panel, it only brought the price up like, I think like $30 or something like that." Like, it was not a huge increase over the price of a module new. So blown away. It sounds great. And also another thing about Manhattan Analog is Jason's built like this, called it a Miss 10 sort of cord clone, like just a single row of all black Manhattan Analog modules, and the thing looks just incredible, to the point where I'm gonna have to buy more
yeah.
modules from him.
Yeah.
So
Enthusiastic Electrons just tuned in.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Manhattan Analog MA35
yeah,
filter.
it's this filter right here, and it does everything you need. It's a little bit wide, I think, compared to some other filters you've seen. I guess it's the same width as the Trashmaster or something, but what's cool about it is it's almost like a tiny version of my 20 or my 40 centimeter by 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter Cosmo filter, in that it's got a mixer, so you can put two inputs in right here. You can overdrive them if you want, similar to what you can do on the Icary, where if you overdrive it, the resonance has less of an impact. You got resonance, CV control, a couple of CV inputs actually. One of them doesn't have an attenuator, the other one does, and then there's an actual VCA built in too. So it's a really compact, just powerful filter in my opinion. So anyway, that's enough trying to sell filters to people.
Yeah. And that one's 12 HP.
Yeah.
And which one's the one that caught on fire? That was not a feature you asked for?
It's not the fault of the manufacturer, to be clear. It was the OTA VCF by AI Synthesis, and it has nothing to do with the manufacturer. It was whoever built it didn't take care to sort of trim the legs on the back, so there was a lot of shorts happening. And I think it only burned a couple of components. Like, I'd built enough MS-20 filters that I had all the spare parts, so it took me 5 minutes to swap out like the sacrificial resistor and an IC, and that was it. Good to go. So
yeah. So you bought it on the used market?
yeah, I bought it on Reverb, and I'm not gonna throw the seller under the bus either, because I think they build a lot of these and it's easy to sort of forget stuff. But I think if I was somebody else, I might have been madder about it.
Right.
The thing that I was the most frustrated about was that it's kind of a funny filter. Like, the high pass works pretty swimmingly, the OTA, I'm talking about the MS-20 filter now, but the low pass isn't quite right, and I fiddled with the trim pots on the back and things like that. I was sort of expecting it to be identical to my Cosmo filters, but it was a little bit different. But it's doing the job, and it's a temporary module for me. Probably sell it to somebody really cheap. So if you're looking for an MS-20, hit me up, and when I replace it, I'll send it your way. But yeah,
So it's not calibrating, right?
I don't know what it is. It's the same components that I've used before, but something about the resonance on the low pass just isn't quite the same.
Oh.
Like I've done some side by side comparisons using the same oscillators and things like that, and it wasn't quite the same. It's still a good sounding filter, but it's not exactly what I'm after. But the main reason I got it was sort of to kill off the need for like a megaphone type module or something like that, because Enthusiastic Electrons was like, hey, just use a high pass filter on your mic and it sounds like a megaphone. And I was like,
Yeah.
nah, no, I mean, it can't be that. And I tried it and it was instantly like, oh yeah, okay, cool. One piece of gear I don't need anymore. Great. So that was the main reason. So it's doing its job for what I wanted, but I was a little surprised about the low pass. It's tuned about as well as can be because I spent like an hour on it, but it'll sound good. It's just not the same as
So
the
so do you have a way to like calibrate and like what are you running it through? The reason I ask is because I have a 3 times MS-22 that I built from a kit,
Yeah.
and I haven't calibrated it. And I don't. I've seen videos how, and at the time I didn't have a way because they were using a DAW essentially to bring the sound in, and then on the DAW they had an oscilloscope where they
Yeah.
could. And I didn't have a way to do that until very recently, but I haven't had
Yes.
time to.
So you can use a scope. Most of the time I don't bother with it. Like there's usually two. I don't know about on the 3-tom MS-22 yet because I haven't built it yet. But there's usually 2 trim pots. There might be more on it, but there's typically 2 on the ones that I built. One is usually around the cutoff, so the filter sweep,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one's around the resonance. And the way I tend to tune them is so that when the knob is fully open, I'll sort of mess with the trim pot on the back until I can feel it start closing a bit, and then I'll open it back up. So I know that's like fully open. I can do a full filter sweep. And then the more fun one I think is the resonance, and that's I'll sort of again keep the knob halfway, sort of get a feel to how much it's affecting the resonance. And then when I turn the knob up all the way, I have the resonance cranked, and I'm sort of listening to how the filter is reacting. And I like to do this with like a lower bass note. Not
And
necessarily
what
super
kind of
low, but like
what kind of wave or input are you putting into it?
either a square or a saw.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter too much. It's just like to get a good bass line, just keep it on that one wave the whole time, like a drone note, held note. And then I'm sort of what I want is when I go all the way to the right, the filter is like the resonance sort of the highest pitch possible without impacting too much of the low end. If I have it really high and I have the resonance even higher, on some modules, this doesn't happen on all filters, but on some you'll sort of hear the low end pull away. And so when you do a filter sweep, it'll go like low, mid, high, you get good resonance, and then sort of something funky happens. And that means
Right.
like there's probably some phase cancellation or something happening with the low end. And that's what I try to sort of like cap it at.
Okay. So another question for you. When you're doing this, the trim pots are usually on the back or on the
Yeah.
side. So you've got the module out of your case.
Yes.
Is there anything to be worried about as far as like what you touch on the PCB?
Yes. Well, I don't, but it's probably bad advice. You can wear a glove if you're worried about it. But typically what I've done is I've got a really long ribbon cable that I've made for myself. The exception is occasionally there are modules that use the full 16 wide ribbon cable instead of
Right.
or 12 wide or whatever it is. I don't have a really long version of that yet. I'm going to make one soon. But I'll usually have a really long cable so that I can pull the module out, set it on the table, usually like on its side,
Okay.
and then plug in all the wires, and I'll fire up the machine. And then there's not like risk of like you accidentally shorting things, or there's not as high of a risk. You could still do it with a screwdriver if you weren't careful, or like I was I was installing some modules yesterday, and I think it was one of the noise engineering skinny ones. If you've installed those, they're kind of finicky because they don't weigh very much, and the cables tend to be kind of stiff, so they'll sort of pull them around at an angle sometimes.
Yeah.
And in this case, I forget what I was doing, but I was like setting it in the case, and I think I must have touched a a hot contact on the back to the rail, which is grounded. And there was a nice spark. Nothing burned or blew up, but it was a good warning shot for me to be a little more careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's
you're
the thing
brave
to be the
for
most
doing that
worried
with it
about.
on. I always like turn everything off. Like I'll even unplug the power in case I accidentally flip it on.
There's very little difference between bravery and stupidity. Um, I mean, it's something that I guess I got used to just like messing with, because on Cosmo I didn't think twice about it. All my rails are wooden, so if I like accidentally hit a rail with the back of a PCB, like nothing is going to happen. Um, my biggest fear is typically while it's on. I guess when I think like for most people, if you're installing panels, Cosmo or not, it's the easiest to do when the case is on its back. So gravity pulls the panel down instead of you having to like hold it up and sort of pin it and screw things in like that. But when you have it on its back, that means if it's plugged in and on, all of those bus boards are live, and dropping something like a knurly or something, and if it lands just the right spot, that's not going to be the best
Yeah.
thing. So that's the thing I'm the most worried about, and I tend to turn it off in between modules. In this case, what I like to do is, for when I'm plugging in a module for the first time, I actually have it in my hand, held by the sides, already plugged in. I'll turn on the case, wait for it to light up, and what I'm looking for is bad stuff happening.
Right.
Like it gets warm, it just glows in places that aren't LEDs, and that's why I like sort of holding it in my hand, because I have different methods of unplugging it. One is just yanking it, which
Yank
could
it,
mess up
yeah.
the cable or the bus board, but like you can do that. You can yank it this way. You can hit the power switch, but I'm basically ready to kill the power pretty quick, if that's the case. And that's what I did with the OTA when I plugged it in. So it wasn't a big deal. When you do that, like there's always a super small chance that like if you get it secondhand or DIY'd by somebody else, there's a chance that like a capacitor could be in backwards, and I think that's the sketchiest bit. Because most of the modules that I've seen have a sacrificial resistor where if like something is shorted, it will glow, look scary, there will be smoke being released, and the resistor will die, but the rest of the module will remain intact, which is fine. That won't hurt you, it won't really hurt the module, it'll just be mildly annoying. But if it caps backwards, those can shoot out. So aim those away from you is like a good safety tip, and maybe wear glasses or goggles. Yeah, see, archaic electro. Yeah, while moving modules around, like it's really easy to spark things with metal rails. I guess that's the downside to metal rails that I
Right.
don't have to deal with on.
So power down,
stuff.
kids.
Yeah, power down between modules. And again, when you're plugging in new modules, there's a couple of things. Like one, check the cables. Two, like just keep an eye on it when it's turning on. Like I noticed I was asking about the Javelin. I got a couple Javelin envelopes slash VCAs,
Yeah.
WMD, and they're
Oh, I was
really
supposed to
well.
check on that for you.
Yeah, no worries. Like it gets mildly warm. Like you won't even really probably be able to feel it from the front of the panel, but when I reached around behind, sort of near the cable, I could feel like a fair amount of heat. Like it's not anything to stress about, but it was one that I was like, well, I just want to make sure it's normal. Um, it's interesting that like it's a funny module to have heat. I don't know why, but it's I don't know. It's a cool module though. I'm enjoying it so far.
Okay. After
Um,
this, because I turned this on before we started,
yeah,
after I'll unscrew it and lift it up and see if I notice anything.
yeah.
But there's also, I don't have one. I've thought about getting one, but I don't think I make enough modules to justify it. Geranalog makes that module tester.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. And there's a bunch of module or cable testing things out there. I happen
mhm.
to make one that a person on the Cosmo or the Look Mom No Computer forums built. I nabbed a PCB from them, sourced the parts, and put it together. Didn't have to write any code because they had done that for me. And basically, I plug in the cables one at a time. I don't trust any of the cables that come with my modules. So far, they've all been good. So there's not really a great reason, but I think that would be a lame way to lose a module is through a bad cable.
Yeah. I also have this thing. It's a cable tester.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But it has, let me see. I don't know how good you can see that. It's not going to focus. But it has where you can do the, you can put in your 10 pin or 16 pin cables.
Yep.
And then you also have the 1/8 jacks, your 3.5
Oh,
millimeter
cool.
jacks. And then it has the little LEDs that light up here.
Like good or bad or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mine's got some like a little like an Arduino Nano or something on it and a little screen, and it's like cable good, cable not. And it tells me the voltage on each pin, that kind of thing.
yeah.
It's very similar. I don't have the 1/4 inch or 3.5 millimeter one. That one I test manually, which isn't that bad because it's too.
I have a better cable tester for like my actual patchwork
Yeah.
cables.
Yeah.
But that one's handy to have if you're doing DIY.
Yep.
Yeah, Forstein St. Mustard built the mutable instruments module tester, and I think I have that one.
That one's a pretty cool, and I think again somebody on the Cosmo or the Look No Computer forums, I can't remember if they forked it or what, but it's like kind of a crazy. There's a lot of stuff on that one. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I'm grabbing the black void. Yeah. There's this guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then so this has so you plug in your module here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a power supply for your module too, which is cool.
Yeah. But it's got extra features. I mean, I think you could there's a lot of things that you can do. You can you can create pitch, and you can assign I think you can either do it through the hertz value or your note value, C0, C1, that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a really nice solid bench tester. Like a lot of folks aren't usually building the modules next to where their modular lives.
Yeah.
In fact, where I have a big bench that I built. Even then, I don't really want to drag this out there and have it on the bench next to me. So having that to just power up a single module and like test it, run some audio through it, super nice. Oh yeah, next time, yeah. I keep waiting for Device X to stream soon. I think it's going to happen this year. We'll see. Because that's just that they've got the coolest set of modules. Yeah. yeah, I don't know how much more to go into DIY stuff just yet. Um, there might be some more DIY stuff to cover next month. We'll see. It depends on the modular theme.
Yeah.
uh,
But if anybody's interested in, starting a DIY, or
yeah,
has questions on any projects you're working on, join our Discord. There's links in the YouTube description,
yep,
I believe.
yep,
So you can jump on, and we have a whole DIY section.
yep. Um, yeah, another thing that I'm really excited about is I got a gazillion modules in the last month because I'm irresponsible with my finances. Um, I don't know. I part of it is like once I make up my mind on what I want, I just go do the thing
Yeah.
and suffer later. In this case, I was sort of ready to put together a fair amount of tiny Cosmo and have successfully built, put together, every module on there. Not built them, but like put it together into one case. And I've been testing them out over like a week or two for some of them, and it's surprising how like once you have it in hand, even though demos can be really nice, like it doesn't always work. Like things don't always play nicely together, right? Like people joke about like no modular grid layout survives like first contact with the modules or something. Like you're gonna have to rearrange stuff is the gist, and it's kind of true. Like I'm noticing like some modules didn't work quite as I anticipated, just a little bit different, don't play nicely together or whatever the thing is, and so I've been rearranging stuff. Or like the funniest one is when I got that Error Instruments like cassette tape player.
Uh-huh.
On modular grid I had it on sort of the top left, sort of out of the way. But my case is inset, like all the modules are inset maybe an inch and a half or a few centimeters. And to use the tape player, you actually have to push down like the tape buttons on the top, and they were like there's like a millimeter between the buttons and the top of it. So I like mounted it in there, and I was like, oh, I can't actually press stop. So that one had to move,
Yeah.
and that was my first experience having to move modules.
Such a cool module too.
It's cool. Like I mean, it's completely overkill for what I'm using it for, which is like. Here, let me just go to the thing. Let's see here. Step, mute everything, but I'm basically using it as a glorified hi-hat. But, like, the speed is variable. Anyway, it's a 6-second tape loop. I'm not super experienced with tape loops, but it like cuts out every time it goes around. There's like a small gap of sort of nothing, which is cool because it adds an element of sort of random. I recorded radio noise to it that I liked, so I've been playing that back. It's great. I love it.
Can you cut your own what is it, the reel? Can you splice one together yourself?
I can, and that's actually on my to-do list to try out because it's not particularly technical or hard. You just sort of need like the right stuff, and it could be interesting to sort of do that with like I don't know, record one of my previous performances on it and like cut out a random section where I'm going in blind. I don't know it's going to be the 6-second loop and put it together, that kind of thing. Yeah, it could be fun. So.
Yeah. So Egon's asking, what's your focus of the Tiny Cosmo? So drums, melodies, generative, ambient, aggro techno.
What would you say my usual genre is, Egon? I think I'm closer to like aggro techno Cosmo melodies. Yeah, so it's called Tiny Cosmo, not by coincidence. I actually do want to make it sort of like a tiny version of Cosmo. So in a pinch, I could grab it and play some tracks like at, say, Freak Boutique or LA. Right? I don't have to bring everything with me. Yes, Cosmo is significantly more fun to play. Uh, but it is also like an entire car full of cases. So part of it is portability. Like that's my version of a portable case. Two, I wanted a drum machine. Like I love my drum brute impact. It's right here. Yeah, that little thing lighting up over the oscilloscope. But it's nice to have a little more variety. So I've got a lot of drum modules in there, more than I need in Tiny Cosmo, and they're competing for survival right now. Some of them will not stay. I've got more, I've got a fair amount of more filters than I probably need. Because again, I'm trying things out.
That's not possible.
Well, here's the thing. I've got some flavors of stuff. Let's like look at this. I've got 100 grid over here for like distortion / filter, right? But also I have Trash Master for distortion / filter. I may not keep both of them. They both do a lot of similar things. They both are completely different flavors of distortion, which is cool. I've got the Erica Synths filter. This is not going anywhere. And the MS-10's not going anywhere. So like I've got a fair amount of filters there. It's not a ton. There's more planned. I'll probably get the MS-22. I've got more oscillators I want to get. Like ideally I want 2 to 3 voices
Right.
along with the drum machine. I would like it so I don't necessarily need my Haypacks to sequence things, although that's primarily going to be how I'm going to use it. But the Metron I think is a really nice, combined with Volterra, gets me like a nice fun like all-in-one sequencer that I can do a lot of stuff with. I think. I know it's not like the perfect sequencer for a lot of things, but it's it's fun. Limitations are fun, I guess.
For the Volterra, are you dialing in specific notes, or do you let it kind of go random? Like,
I'm not doing anything yet. I just installed it and I have not tried it yet. I've just updated the firmware. Like, I don't even know how to use it yet. It was the most recent thing I plugged in. Other than the MS-10 filter, I guess. That one I was very quick to put in the box. Yeah, so I don't know yet. I know you can input specific note values. Like it sounds like there's some quantization involved, or I can do a little more random microtonal stuff.
That was my next question. Is there any quantizing behind it?
Yeah, I think there is a quantizer in it. It's like when I was reading, it sounded like I could use quantized notes per step. Which is about what you would expect from a sequencer.
And
I'm
it's
just gonna play with it.
Is it 4?
It is 4, but you can chain.
You can chain a ton, right? Like you can have 32
more
of them or
than
something.
you need. I have no idea what the max number is. I'm starting with 4 to see if I like it, and I don't actually have any plans for like a big gap in the middle of the bottom row. So if I want to expand more, if I like it, I'll get some more.
Let me know, because I think I have one that I don't use.
I will let you know. Okay. Yeah, because I got some of this stuff a lot of it used, but. Here, that's another topic I want to talk about is rack rash. Like I see a lot of people ask about it or talk about it, like only used with knurlies or like pristine condition, no rack rash, blah blah blah. Who cares? Like, I know some people care, but like these things are so small. Like you can't.
Here's my
even
hot
tell.
take on it.
Yeah.
All right. I might get some angry messages about this. I think people use it as an excuse to just bring down the price.
I agree with you.
When at the end they're gonna put in a washer and something on top, which is gonna cover the rash.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it matters in the slightest. Like, okay, if it was dropped. Actually, I don't remember what Discord it was in, but Kyle from Signal Sounds shared like the most beat up module I think they've got, and like the panel was like folded in, like potentiometer sort of ripping off a little bit.
Yeah, he put that on EMS.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I would love to buy that. And not to like necessarily I want to fix it up, but I want to fix it up my way. Like I'm not gonna flatten the panel. I'm gonna leave the panel like bent, but like install loose potentiometers and wire them into a panel and like make it work perfectly, just like at weird angles. Because something about that just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't care about rack rash like at all. And I can see that like on Reverb, like people are like, it looks like there's some scratches on that corner. I'm not gonna pay. I'm gonna take $20 off for that scratch. Like, man, you could just ask for $20 off. Like, it doesn't matter.
And I could see if it was like abused, right? Like,
Yeah,
like if it's just got a bunch of scratches. But I've never seen that. Like, I've personally never seen something just really beat up. I'm sure it's out there. But when people are, talking about rack rash, it's just mostly around the where you screwed in.
yeah, because they use the metal screws provided, which are fine.
Yeah, and that's just normal wear and tear. If you want something that's pristine, then buy it new.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Another
like
thing
that. Shock Valley says it's rack rash is sold from the previous owner.
Yeah, it's got character. Like, I don't mind. Like, it just reminds me. I think snowboarding sort of like got me over caring about scratches on things. Because on one of my snowboards, the bottom is bright blue, and when you run over rocks, there's a chance you can get something called a core shot, where there's a gouge that's deep enough where you actually need to put in potentially some epoxy, followed by P-Tex, and then wax, right? And the P-Tex is either black or clear. A lot of people like clear because it looks like nothing happened, right? But on this board, I've been using black P-Tex to fix it, and over time, it's like spidered out all crazy cool, and it's like, I don't know, it's like a nice little history, I think, of all the times I screwed up. So I don't know, I kind of like that stuff. Yeah, I know. Almost every set of screws I get, I forget what they almost always are. Black screws with probably a hex driver. Sometimes they include the driver, and no washers. One of the brands I just got, can't remember which. I'll have to look at the boxes. Came with some like clear washers, but yeah, I don't know. Knurlies for life. What else? Like, I don't know. I'm enjoying the setup so far. Like, I'm still learning the ropes. I ran out of short cables, which is not something I thought I would say, but I'm gonna have to order more. I don't like using non Bartok cables though, so probably be a good Bartok order or two. Anyway, I feel like Schmooster's like grinning in his sleep right now. There's sleep. That bike guy calls dings Bosage. What? I'm sorry, Forrestine. I don't know what that sentence means, but I'll do my best to read it. There's that bike guy that calls dings Bosage.
I'm guessing it's a mix of like beautiful usage or
usage. Oh, because you're using it. It's usage mixed with beautiful. Okay, good pun. Good job, random bike guy. Very good. Appreciate it now. Bosage. I was like, sausage mixed with something.
Right, I was thinking sausage. I was like, those Canadians.
Yeah, I don't know. So, overall, I'm enjoying it. I'd say compared to Cosmo, there are some major differences. Like, I'm very, very spoiled with the Cosmo modules, not just because of space, but because there's like little details that make performing them just a little bit better. And I think maybe that's a necessity thing that Sam or whoever designed them accumulated over time, because there's not like a lot of Cosmos sequencers, right? Like there's Eurorec ones, so like the sequencers for Cosmo tend to be like not much more than like a baby 8 or something. Like 8-step sequencers where you sort of have to fill time between tracks and stuff. So there's all sorts of little things that have just made the modules just a little bit nicer, I think, than what I've found in Eurorack. So as far as oscillators, they're all great. So no, you can't really compare oscillators, but some of the other utilities, there's differences that are small enough that I'm getting sort of frustrated at. Yeah. I can see why y'all like this Eurorack stuff though. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm just loving it. I'm sort of saving a space up here for, like, this is just temporarily. You can't even see it. This error instrument and this lorem ipsum panel are just temporarily here. There will be some other stuff there. Some oscillators I'm hoping come into being. And I'll have a voice here. I got some criticism for having my MIDI right here in the middle, but you know what? It makes a lot of sense. You just can't tell because my cables are way too long. But yeah, it makes sense because I've got some teleporter, right? Like I can go right up to the pitch up to here, spread that among the oscillators, gate up to this one, right? And then I can teleport through the plumber over to here, where again can distribute accordingly. Pretty tidily. Then the drums, which take up the most cable space, are distributed horizontally. So if I get some nice, appropriately sized cables, it'll be fairly tight and less messy. Anyway, end of rant there. How many HP? It is 157.5 9U. And it really is 157.5. I've filled up the middle row completely, and there is a half an HP gap. I've sort of spread them out a little bit, but yep. Can't tell, it's fine. And there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of room for change, because again, like, I'm not going to keep all of the filters I have. I'm going to get like this clock divider will probably be moved over to primary Cosmo, like a regular Cosmo, and replaced with an MS-22 filter. There's other stuff that's going to happen, but this is a really overkill baseline that I'm happy with. So, Tiny Cosmo. I should do, for comparison, there's Big Cosmo. I have yet to find a good camera angle for Big Cosmo. Regular size Cosmo, I guess. Big Cosmo would be like, I don't know, like steering wheel potentiometers and stuff. One day. Yeah. I don't know. What have you been up to in modular? Like, what? And do you have any new modules? Are you still crushing it with your cases?
Yep. I'm no new modules. Just trying to compose with what I've got. I've actually been busy with a lot of other personal stuff, so I haven't had a time to sit behind it. And this week I started doing that. Because I told myself I have to start getting things ready, and and all the stuff I had lined up is gone, so I now have time, but nothing new.
Cool.
Nothing new. Same old, boring.
I was sort of jonesing to get playing, which is why I've been streaming a lot, because I've been moving like all my stuff from the laundry room up here, and that takes a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff. I built like the shelf behind me, like there's other furniture and things. Like it's a lot of work. I mean, the cabling alone is kind of a pain too.
Yeah.
Like how to route stuff tidily, but in a way that you can like move things around if you need to.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I have stuff that's off camera.
Yeah.
That's new. Like I finally got a drum stool. I've been using
cool.
a chair, and I always, after a while, I was just bothered sitting in that chair. Like my back would start hurting and I was uncomfortable. And I've been thinking, like, I'm going to switch to a drum stool, and I got one, and that's been working out great. And then I upgraded like my little home studio setup. So I actually have a PreSonus quantum device. I got like a little travel um, case. So I've got an PreSonus. I've got
What's a PreSonus? Like I don't know what that
it's
is.
just an interface. So it's an 8 channel,
Oh, okay, okay, right.
but it's rack mounted. So I have like a rack power. Everything's basically in a rack.
Oh, so you've got a nice little 19-inch rack down there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um, so that's all kind of new, and um, it's actually been really nice. My last streams have all been through that. But that's yeah. Other than that, that's it.
That's cool. That's a nice pair of quality of life improvements there. Just like being able to sit down and jam. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm like tethered poorly on the other side of the room right now because some of the quality of life things that I've ordered are back ordered or something. So yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Egon's asking, what synth technique do you plan to explore in next patch? Anything, sound, sequence, etc. Um,
Question.
what synth technique? Um, one thing I'm going to try to do is actually kind of sync more things together. Where I don't know if it's a synth technique, but just try to sync the changes of uh, like sequencer. I'm gonna see if I can like I don't use the reset in a lot of these, um, and I kind of got used to either timing them myself or doing things manually. And I'm gonna try to use the reset on a couple of these modules. I'm gonna try to see if I got to read the manual on the Zadar
Mm-hmm.
to see if there's a way that I can send a signal to go to the next saved preset,
Mm-hmm.
which to me it sounds like it should be an option. I have no idea if anybody knows. Let me know. But that's, I think, kind of the next thing is I feel like I need to dig deeper into some of the modules that I haven't really spent that time to do.
Yeah, that's uh yeah, so syncing and resets, that's something that I've struggled with a fair amount. I hadn't actually had to do it until I built the Evil Eye 8-step sequencer up there.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I was doing it out of the pyramid was pyramid only had like CVN gate out, and like they weren't particularly customizable. So I think I sent a reset out of the pyramid, and then the clock signal was actually coming from the MIDI synced drum brew impact, which was really janky but got the job done. But it wasn't like tidy by any means. The Hapax is significantly better, but actually what I like more than that now is sending MIDI clock over to Tiny Cosmo via the Mutant Brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a clock and a transport signal dedicated CV outs on the bottom of it that I can then sort of spread around. And the first place those go, as you might expect, would be to Metron, right? And Metron also has clock out and reset
Right.
out. So essentially, it's like a clock and reset through in this case.
Right.
And then I've spread those out throughout the case, which is again handy with that rack plumber because you can sort of do those things. And I haven't need to send reset as much, but I could if I needed to. Clock I've been sending to the modules that like clock, like data bender, stuff like that. But it's tricky, I think, to get that done tidily because it's typically, from what I've seen, those modules aren't always near each other.
Right. Right.
And yeah.
And for the most part, like I'm doing some semi-random, or if it's like an ambienty drawing type thing, it doesn't
Yeah.
really have to be um, in sync. Um, so it hasn't really been something I've had to focus on. But working the past streams that I've done with Egon, we're sharing clock and reset signal, and we've had to in order for my case to sync up with theirs. So doing that, it's kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, I really need to pay attention to what these do and how I can utilize them.
Yep. I mean, like you, I need to spend a lot more time. Well, you've already spent a lot of time with your stuff. I need to spend a lot more time with the new modules with Tiny Cosmo, to get familiar with it. And I actually didn't anticipate the need to spend that much time on that. I guess I'd forgotten how much time I spent with Big Cosmo, really just like learning it, doing a lot of sound design sessions of just not necessarily intentionally, just by the nature of necessity, like figuring out how, like, where are the sweet spots in the filter, where are this,
Mm-hmm.
like, what do I need to do to get these oscillators to sound good. And there's a lot more combinations and things I can play with on Big Cosmo, but I'm at least to a point where I can quickly come up with a really nice sounding patch like that on this. On the other one, there's a lot more sound design exploring that needs to be done. So that's what I'm spending a lot of time doing. Is like, it's kind of, I think, boring to listen to probably, but essentially what I'll do is I'll set up like a quick 16-step, 8-step sequence, like a bass line, right? Something that has a couple of notes that change, but is pleasant enough to listen to where I can keep listening to it. And then I'm learning the envelope. I'm learning the VCA. I'm learning the filters. Like, I'm playing with different aspects of trying mixing, like the Manus Iteratus, Manus Iteratus with like the VCO2. Like, how do those sound together? What do I need to do to make those play nicely? Should they play nicely, etc. So
Right.
that's sort of what I'm doing now, and getting to a good spot. One such sound design experiment I did earlier was to just put the MS10 filter through its paces. At this point, I'm fairly confident I know that filter in and out, even though I only spent maybe 10 minutes, but I got it sounding almost identical. Like, if I played the MS10 and I played the MS10 filter with the VCO2 going through it, it was almost identical. Like, perfect.
That's pretty cool. Yes.
Yeah. So things like that is what I'm doing. In terms of like intentional, interesting things, I plan to do a lot more modulation. So I'm excited to learn the Volterra. I think that might be a good like secondary, like the Metron would be a good secondary sequencer for voltages. So one of the things I really liked about Big Cosmo, and still do, is the Evil Eye sequencer to sequence CV, not necessarily pitch, but like filters and stuff. Like, if you have eighth notes, all of the same note on a bass line, but you've got like an 8-step filter changing each step, it's a memorable bass line. It's very cool. Like, it's
Okay,
really
so hold on.
interesting.
Let's replay that. So you have a bass line
Yeah.
repeating notes,
Yeah.
but then you send the 8-step sequencer into what, the filter?
Yeah, the filter. So I don't know that I can easily let me just think for 2 seconds how to sync things up. Yeah, I can do it with some fancy magic Bartok cables. Maybe I'll grab a couple slightly longer ones too. These gonna be long enough? Oh. All right, we've gone past those lengths. Luckily, I've got some really long cables. The patch isn't that complicated. It just
Right.
needs, well, I like to have a reset, and I like to have a clock sync. So just grabbing some parts here, a couple adapters from my little buddy's pile. All right. This room is brought to you by IKEA. All All right. So what I'm going to do, you're going to be the click. I'm going to run you over first so I don't forget which is which. Is this going to be long enough? Yes. Okay, so we're going to be, click is going to be 3, and then the reset's going to be 4. Just a second. Resets. I promise this is cool to me. It's cool to me. All right, sync out. Gate clock to gate 3, gate reset to gate 4. And now if I hit play, we should be seeing stuff, but did I do it wrong?
I hear something. It's very faint.
Yeah, that's probably something that I'm not seeing either of these things. Oh, okay. Reset's getting... Okay, so that should be there. It should be getting clocked, but I don't know why it's not. There we go. Oh, it's a connection thing. Different adapter. Hold on. Let's see. You're not in use, and I know you work. Let's put you in there. There we go. All right. So we've got sequencer. If I hit stop, yeah. Okay. So it'll always start from the beginning. If you hear anything, it's just the hats right now. So let's get a baseline of. Let's see here live. Okay. Right. Perfect. Like this is a good note. And I'm just gonna do 8th notes. Right? Okay. Bass sequence. Let's get you going to here. And like that's it. Right? So you don't, it's a pretty cool way to have a memorable like lead or pattern
Right.
with one note, right? So, oh, sorry, wrong note. Here, let me change that to, let's see, let's go to F sharp. There, you know what, let's go down an octave. Happy now?
There we go.
Yeah. Anyway, I like doing that, and the Metron can do that with the Volterra. So I'm really excited to start bringing stuff like that back in. Yeah. Anyway, that's why I like secondary sequencer. Like I think sequencing CV is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know a great way to like, like if I'm changing tracks to like remember that I'm going to sequence the CV and load up the Metron to the right, whatever pattern. That I haven't figured out yet, but it may just be on the fly kind of a thing. We'll see.
There may be a better way to do it. What I would try is using the variation section on your Metron.
Yeah.
Because then it will change at the end of the pattern.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, yes. Yes.
So I don't know if I mean it should. It should work. So create a variation with the difference you want. On the Metron, if you tap the variation twice, then it will automatically change.
Yeah.
At the end.
That's a really good tip. I clearly have not. When I've been playing with the Metron, it's been to the point where I don't actually care if I save it, so I haven't bothered saving anything yet. I'm just enjoying it. Not trying to make any finished tracks or anything on it yet. So I need to really get more familiar with the terms, like remember to save variations. In this case, variations are like these friends up here.
Yes.
And they'll change unless I like double tap or something.
So
yeah.
So you can change it a couple different ways. You can click. So if you're on A, you can click B, and then hit the reset that's on the far right.
Yeah.
And or you can just double tap and let it run its course. So if you have a 16-step pattern, it'll change at the end of that. If you have a 32-step pattern, whatever your length is, it'll change at the end of that.
Right. And there's ways to change it instantly. I remember reading something about that in the manual. But again, I need to get familiar with these modules.
Yeah.
So,
But those are like my tips on the Metron, is to really use the variations a lot. And I use the last one, the fifth variation. I always have that as a blank variation. I still create the same number of steps that I'm doing with whatever song I'm using.
yep.
So then it's, if whenever I go back, it still goes back and it's all together.
Right. So to those who haven't experienced sync issues, what Bartok is saying is if you have a 4-bar sequence from your primary sequencer, like 4 bass notes over 4 bars just held, right? And you want to sync that up with Metron, and so you want to change variations at the end of at the start of the beginning of that 4-bar sequence. That blank sequence allows you to basically have everything off on the Metron. But when you want to play something, you can hit it anytime during that 4-bar sequence, and when it loops back around, it'll start at the right time. Versus like if it's only a 1-bar blank sequence, it'll change after 1 bar, which means everything is on the Metron is a bar behind or ahead.
Yeah.
Like it's not good. And then you have to sort of play it off, and hopefully things aren't pitched so you can deal with it. But yeah. So I've had that. So the reason I'm very familiar with that, because that was something that was possible and is possible with my primary sequencers, the Pyramid and the Apex. I can run into situations where I do that. Like one of the tricky things is if I have like, let's say my intro is only like 2 bars long. So I just play 2 bars over and over again. But I want to go into a sequence that's 8 bars. If I've played the 2 bars and I'm not paying close enough attention, I might be 6 bars in when I go to do the change, and it might start the 8-bar sequence like 6 bars in, which means it's not quite what you anticipate. Anyway, things don't line up right, so it's tricky to work out how to do that. Anyway, blank sequences that are long are kind of the trick. I think a lot of the tracker pros do the same thing. 4-bar blanks and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've gone in a little bit of the weeds. I'm like really went through a lot of like a few people had to bail for this what the heck, which is fine. But it meant I was like getting ready to do a different thing. So I'm like a little off tonight, but I'm really excited for this weekend, Sunday, for the first highlight reel of Modular. Very excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can wrap. Let's go.
Yeah.
Wrap up. We're back to what we were talking about, is the ARPRL, the EMS Modular theme ideas. So our April's is arpeggios. Yep. And on Sunday you will be replaying highlights of the current ones on the playlist. And I guess stay tuned, because you'll introduce possible choices for next month.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's when I'm gonna put up the vote right after this, and people can vote on what's next month. But we'll announce the next month formally for those who haven't like peeked at the results on Sunday, and we can start May's Modular. Another couple of notes, like it's arpeggios. Like there's a lot of really good stuff in there. So like if you need to get stuff done on Sunday, put it on the louds, like put on your speakers, right? Like it's gonna be really good music to like get stuff done to. If you want to come hang out. If you want to join the video, like hit me up and I'll send you an invite, etc. What I'm sort of planning and hoping for is that enough folks show up that have contributed that they can at least pop on the video chat for a little bit, maybe after we do a highlight or during, to talk a little bit about their patch or setup or something cool like that. So it's going to be the first kind of winging it. So we'll see. We'll try to keep it a reasonable length. I have a feeling it's going to be like 2 hours long. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. There's been a lot.
Do you have a time scheduled for that?
I do, but I can't tell you because I'm really far away from the screen that has that information, and I don't want to pull my mixer off the wall.
Okay.
It is okay. So it's in the Discord events and on the EMS calendar.
Okay.
I think it's 10 a.m. Mountain, so like noon Eastern, 9 a.m. in California Pacific. And no idea it depends on where you are in Europe.
All right.
Evening,
so
afternoon in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So see you all then. I guess I'll play us out with that cool new sequence.
Yeah, play us out. Thanks for having me. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for coming. Need some drums, right? All I have are you. Llama kick.
see it, then you never know. I feel sorry for you.
Now, Gerald, I know you have great personal experience with lysergic acid. What do you think of it?
To do that in 2 minutes, eternity in an hour. It's almost impossible, of course, as all the patients say, to describe it. You can only say it isn't, it isn't, it isn't. Trying to tell people what it is. Well, of course, I don't know any of our friends that have taken it but haven't said this one thing in common. Do that 12 minutes. I never knew anything like that in the whole of my life. It's almost impossible. One or two people have said to me, right? I said it myself. You can only say it isn't, it isn't, it isn't. Yes, it's going to be like trying to
It contains 100 gamma of LSD.
what should I say?
1 atmol milligram. This material equivalent of 1/100th of a grain. An ounce of this material will make
Get
100
talking technical,
calories.
or like you can say you can stop.
No, I can't quite see it. Tell me about it.
Well, I can it's here. It's I can't tell you. You can't see it in color. And I can feel the air. I can see it. I feel sorry for you. I'm tired of it.
How do you feel? Now, Gerald, I know you have great personal experience with lysergic acid. It's time for you to have your lysergic acid down. I know you have great personal experience with lysergic acid. What do you think of?
To do that in 2 minutes, eternity in an hour. It's almost impossible, of course, as all the patients say to describe it. You can only say it isn't, it isn't, it isn't. Trying to tell people what it is. Well, of course, I don't know any of our friends who didn't take me but haven't said this one thing in common. Do that? Wait a minute. I never knew anything like that in the whole of my life. It's almost impossible. One or two people have said to me, right, I said it myself. You can only say it isn't, it isn't, it isn't. What death is going to be like. Trying to tell people what fun it would be. Well, of course, I don't know any of our friends who have taken it but haven't said this one thing in common. Where things appear, I never knew anything like that in the whole of my life. One or two people have said to me, I said it to myself, that's what death is going to be like. And oh, what fun it would be. Well, I mean, there are the colors and the beauties, the design, the way things appear. Well, the people themselves, there are people that I thought of, like you're fascinating, interesting, mysterious, wonderful. I can assure you that you're very stable in the beginning, well-balanced person. And I was saying it this afternoon, it was taking how do you feel about coming here and thinking it's strange? I think that's normal. Well, I think it's time for you to have your lysergic acid. Drink this down, and we'll be back after a while.
This is a glass of water, colorless, tasteless. It contains 100 gamma of LSD-35. 1/10 of a milligram is material equivalent of 1/100th of a grain. An ounce of this material will make 100 of the hour.
Or let you can say you can
That word. No, I can't quite see it. Tell me about it.
well, as you cut it, I couldn't possibly say you could. It's here. It's I can't see it. You can't see it in colors, you know, and I can feel the air. I can see it. I can see it. Sorry, sorry. I'm tired of it.
How do you feel about Now, Gerald, I know you have great personal experience with lysergic acid. It's time for you to have your lysergic acid. Drink this down, and we'll be back
2 minutes,
in a while.
eternity in an hour.
This is a
It's
glass
almost
of water.
impossible, of course, as all the patients say to describe it.
It contains
You can only
100
say
gamma
it isn't, it
of
isn't, it isn't.
LSD-25. 1 milligram will make equivalent of 1/600th
Well, of course,
grain.
I don't know any
An
of our
ounce of
friends
this
who
material will make
have taken it but haven't said this one thing in common. Well,
Let us observe the
I
effect
never
of
knew
the hours
anything like
later.
this in the whole of my life. It's almost impossible. One or two people have said to me, right,
Everything is in color,
you can
and I
only say
can feel the air. I can see it. I can see all of
trying to tell people what fun it would be. Well, of course,
I'm
I don't
tired
know
of it.
any of our friends who have taken it but haven't said this one thing in common. Well, I never knew anything like that in the whole of my life. One or two people have said to me, do that, and we'll be back in a while. Eternity in an hour.
This is a
It's
glass
almost
of water.
impossible, of course, as all the patients say to describe it.
It contains 100 gamma of LSD-25. 1 milligram will make equivalent of 1/600th
Well, of course,
grain.
I don't know any
An
of our
ounce of
friends
this
who
material will
have
make
taken it but haven't said this one thing in common. Well,
Let us observe the
I
effect
never
of
knew
the hours
anything like
later.
that in the whole of my life. One or two people have said to me, right,
Everything is in color, and I can feel the air. I can see it. I can see all of
trying to say, what fun it would be. Well, of course,
I'm
I
tired
don't
of
know
it.
any of our friends who have said this one thing is right. Well, I never knew anything like this in the whole of my life. One or two people have said to me, I said it to myself, what's what death is going to be like? And oh, what fun it would be. So, when I knew together the colors, the design, the way things appear well or see well, there are people like yourself, like your fascinating experience, wonderful. I can assure you,
Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. You have to see the air. You can't believe it.
how you feel about
What I
it.
mean. And the dimensions and all the different other waves and everything coming down through you and amazing.
Do this in 2 minutes, eternity in an hour. It's almost impossible, of course, as all the patients say to describe it. You can only say it isn't. Trying to tell people what it takes. Well, of course, I don't know any of our friends who could say but haven't said this one thing in computer. Well, minutes. I never knew anything like that the whole of my life. It's almost impossible. One or two people have said to me, right, I said it to myself. You can only say this is going to be like. Trying to tell people what fun it would be. Well, of course, I don't know any of our friends who could say this one thing in well, I never knew anything like that the whole of my life. One or two people have said to me, I said it to myself, what's what death is going to be like? And oh, what fun it would be. Well, I mean, there are the colors and the beauties, the designs, the way things appear, well, and people themselves, there are people that I turned out, like my fascinating interest, mysterious, wonderful. I can assure you that the book they in the beginning well balanced. And the thing this afternoon on the station, how do you feel about it? Coming here and thinking it's strange. I even show up.
think that's normal. Well, I think it's time for you to have your lysergic acid sprinkled down, and we'll be back after a while.
This is a glass of water, colorless. Takes 1/10 of a milligram. This is the equivalent of 1/600th of a grain. An ounce of this material will make a
Talking
100
technical, or let you see. Can you say you can see it?
No, I can't quite see it. Tell me about it.
Well, I just couldn't. I couldn't possibly tell you. It's here. I can't tell you. You can't see it from here. And I can feel the air. I can see it. I can see it inside for you. I'm part of it.
How do you feel about it? Coming here and going to be strange. We're nuts. Now, Gerald, I know you have great personal experience with, I think that's lysergic acid. I think it's time for you to have your lysergic acid drink this down, and we'll be back in a while. And
Eternity in an hour.
This is a
It's
glass
almost
of water.
impossible, of course, as
Colorless.
all the patient
This
states
material will
describe
make
it.
100. It contains
You
100
can only say
gamma
it isn't, it
of
isn't, it
LSD
isn't.
25. Let us observe the
trying to
milligram
tell people
3
what
hours
it
later.
is.
Equivalent of 1/600th
Well, of course,
a grain.
I don't know
An
any of our
ounce of
friends
this
that
material will
take
make
but haven't said
150,000
this one
of
thing
such
in
doses.
common.
I just couldn't.
Wait a
I
minute.
couldn't
Let us observe the
possibly
I
effect
never
some
knew
3 hours
anything
later.
like this the
Here.
whole of my
Can you
life.
feel it?
It's almost impossible,
whole
of course, as all the
people
people say to describe it.
Everything
I
is
said
in
it
color,
myself. You can
and
only
I
say
can
it
feel
isn't,
the
it isn't,
air. I
it
can
isn't,
see
it
it.
isn't,
I
you
can
like.
see all of
Trying to tell people what it is. What
It's
fun
here.
it would be.
Feel it?
Well, of course,
I'm
I
part
don't
of
know
it.
any of our friends said
You
this
can
thing,
see it?
but haven't said this one thing in life. Where?
Maintain flight level 190. Correction, you're cleared to start. Better fueling along at AR 625. Make Psycho 7 disregard. You're cleared to the track. Via direct climb. Maintain flight level 190.
To the track, direct climb to 190, flight 7.
Level Fusion 1 and 2 of the RTP fuel. Kremlin, get up. Kremlin, 1, 2, RTP. Traffic up. Approved. Push button, accept. So would you knock it off or did 1 knock it off? 2 knock it off. 2 knock it off. Sector 7, Hector's bearing 304 at 43 DME. Flight 200. Contact. Showtime, Kremlin, cruiser street.
Taking Angels for Gulf 17.
Second.
For Gulf 17.
17, what is your request, sir?
Amen. Just looking for another snap to Gulf 17.
Sector 7, flight heading 322. The Taker is bearing at 33 DME. The Taker's now bearing 314 at 28 DME.
Should I confirm he's at 19,000?
00.
Turn it direct.
7 view, 7 Mark 7, Sector 7, flight 2 at 16. 28 miles to the southeast at flight 190.
Call for 7 on 10 Mark. The flankers.
Sector 7, you're cleared to conduct your fuel along AR 645, maintain flight level 190 until cleared higher by the Taker. Cruise change your cruise. 1 within 3 miles, squad, stand by. Sector 7, contact us.
7 push T91.9. 817, Fighter 7.
Yeah, Fighter 7, Golf 17, flight clear, we're flight level 200 for the flight 190, flight 210, after 2. Set your clear record.
2%, we're ready for contact. I'm cleared to rejoin. We're 2 by 16.
Chapter 1, Terrace Bank, correction, Taker's bearing 306 at 5, action 5 for a mile, to Jackson Trail. Where's left wing? Be advised, we're interfering up.
Copy. 7 going to stern and 8 to the left wing.
8. Radar contact, Nelson. 3rd, Nelson, I take it. Goodbye, Eastern. The radar contact, Lingo.
7, 3rd, miles, Nelson.
Roger, stand by. Crash 170, Mark 7, 745, and 16, 30 miles per year, southeast, at 5190.
And Mars 5.
When you're clear to contact there, through the rock AR 625, maintain 5190 to clear higher by the tanker. Squawk, stand by within 3 miles of the tanker.
2, cleared. Stand by within 3 miles of the tanker. Number 1.
Back to 9.
Push. Prime picking. Golf, central into 28 miles, order, 7 o'clock. 180, squawking 6105.
Good golf within into a clear frequency restricted test. So switch tanker, clear radar, located.
Contact. Let's go. Switch is safe. Rejoining sniper.
At 4, please.
You're confirmed, Mama. Mama, 0, precision 023. Silent 21 is 10 miles south, 23.
Dialogue.
Page 36. Be advised, we're at Angels 6.5, and we're number 2. Check those codes at visual 162 and 06.
Clear.
Left wing.
Flicker, clear to contact, sir.
Good contact. We're up the dot there, we're at 290.
Golf 7 pump. Hey, flicker, return, sir. We had a pressure. Pressure doesn't make any. Flicker, clear to contact. Clear to contact, sir.
Take contact. Pleasure.
knock it out. Let them knock it off. Figure 7, 7 tanker bearing 304 and 43 DNA. Final T00. Both back. Showtime. Take it. 1-7, what is your request, sir? Just looking for another snap to go back to 1-7. Take your tower flight heading 322. The tanker is buried at 3 DD. The tanker's now buried at 314 at 28 DD. Take it down. 0-0. Flat right. How do you accept more 7 tanker 7 flight 2 at 16? 2 miles to the southeast at 50190.
I call for several at Mark. Yeah, fine.
Number 7, you're clear to conduct air fuel AR 625. Maintain 50190 until very high line tanker. Coming straight to your first. 113 miles per standby.
Static contact group. 7 push 99.
again? 17, what is your request, sir?
Just looking for another ticket call from 17.